Greetings YouTube, time for another crafting project. This, I think, is some kind of a scraper. I'm not sure. It's very thick. It's quite heavy. It's not particularly long, so it doesn't seem like an ice chopper. I'm not sure what it's supposed to be, but I'm going to turn it into a weapon. Not that you couldn't, stave someone's skull in with it at the moment, but I want to put an edge on it. In particular, I want to give this a vaguely glaive-like overall shape. And this would be something that would definitely be swung as opposed to thrust. This is not a long weapon, it's very heavy, but if you were to hit something with this curved edge, you are definitely going to make some grievous wounds. So I'm going to use the angle grinder to cut off this outside that line, and then I'll use my flap wheel to grinder and my flap wheel to refine the shape, and then to give it an edge. And I just use ordinary everyday chalk. I picked up a container of Crayola chalk, colored chalk, for $1, and I didn't use much of this particular piece. That's it. But I figure I'll find some use for chalk in the future. So for $1, I bought myself some colored chalk. So that's going to be the next task, which is to get this bolted down onto some sawhorses, because this really isn't I don't know if I can actually cut this conveniently in my vise. I may try it at first. If I don't like it, I'll bolt it down to some sawhorses so I can come at it from above. Because if I mount it here, really I'm going to be making sure it's going to be on that side, and then we may try it. We'll see what happens. It may work, it may not. At least I can grab this. I don't have to worry about grabbing the shaft. I can just grab this thing here in the pipe section of my vise, and that'll give it a really nice firm grip. So we'll try that first and see if I'm happy with it. If I don't, I'll bolt it down to I'll clamp it down to some sawhorses. So I tried it in the vise, and it worked pretty good. When I got near the end, I started getting some vibration on this first cut. And here is the off cut, which I'm not going to touch with my bare hands. We're going to see if it's still hot. Yes, that's still hot. So now it's a better temperature. I'm still not touching it with my hands at the moment. So I actually ended up putting a glaze on part of the cut-off blade because I was coming here at an angle, because I couldn't come in too straight because I had to be able to follow the lines. I was coming sort of an angle there. So now I'm going to reposition this so I can get less of a vibration. I may pull this all the way in much further than it is now. Clamp on this proper, which is, wow, that's so hot. You feel the heat just radiating off of it. That's really warm. And then I'm going to come in here and do the next cut. I probably have to do 3, I think, total before I get to the point where I have to start roughing it out with a grinder. And apparently a fly has come to join us. So it took 4 cuts. So there you have the rough shaped edge. So now I'm going to switch my wheels out into a grinder and start shaping the overall profile. So that's next up. Alright, so we have the profile roughed in with the grinder. Now I'm going to bring the flap wheel in to tune it up till I get the curve that I want, and I've kind of got almost all of it. There's a few high spots in here, but the grinder is a very coarse tool, so we're going to bring a flap wheel in here and see if I can get that curve closer to what I want before I start trying to put an edge, a bevel on this thing. And that's going to be the tough part, because the bevel is going to have to be fairly shallow. I mean, I really should have the grind line starting here, like almost a 3/4 of an inch or so back, and I've never ground anything that deep before, so this is going to be a learning curve. Also, this steel is not the greatest as far as edge is concerned. So, and I don't have a forge at the moment for hardening, so I don't know what I'm going to do about the hardening process. I may have to simply heat this up with a propane torch and then quench it that way. I guess we'll find out. And we have the profile pretty much where I want it. I'm going to change the position of this piece, and I'm going to start working on that bevel, and I'm not really sure what the best way to work on the bevel is. Flap wheel is going to take forever. The grinder is probably the best way to go. Like I said, the grinder is a very coarse tool. I guess we're going to find out, aren't we? This is going to be a lot of grinding. I really wish I had a big belt sander, 1-inch wide belt or something. Something I could have a lot of space around it so I could really get in there and push this thing around, you know what I mean? But I don't. That's just the way it is at the moment. So I guess it's just do the best I can. Alright. Working on this for quite a while now. And I've got one side kind of sort of the way I want it. At least I think I've got it roughed out as far as the bevel is concerned. It's going to need some refinement, and I may have to come back further towards the spine than I am now. But I'm at the point where I want to rotate the tool and start working on the other side, so I can hopefully eventually come up to the midline. When I get very close to the midline, I'm going to stop using the grinder, because again, it's a very coarse tool, and I'll switch over to my flap wheel to kind of tune it in that last 1/16 of an inch or so, so I can kind of get what I want and hopefully get a semi-decent edge. And again, while this one will have a point, this is primarily going to be something that you're going to be swinging with. This is about making very large wound channels. This isn't necessarily about deep penetration, though again it will have a point. So next up is turn it over and try the other side. Alright, after much moving of metal, and I mean there's a whole lot of dust in here at the moment. It's pretty dirty. I've got this down to the point where it is close to an edge. Not an actual edge, but close to an edge, or I don't want to be using the grinding wheel any longer with the grinding disc. That was one of these DeWalt grinding discs. So I'm going to switch over to my flap wheel and start working with that to get it down to be close to where I want it. But so far, it's coming out nice. I'm not having any major issues. Haven't had any accidents. Haven't had any major faults with the tool, so I'm happy. So on to the flap wheel. Well, there we go. This is my newest toy, and I have designated it the Skullsplitter, because I can guarantee you hit someone in the head with this thing, and you are going to split their skull. This is definitely in the post-apocalyptic primitive aesthetic, and that's okay. It's kind of what I'm looking for. It does have an edge. It's not going to be shaven sharp, don't get me wrong, but it's got an edge. I've taken the burr off the edge because there was one when I was finished with my side stone, and so that came out okay. This thing is really monstrously thick. I mean, you can see how thick this blade is just by looking at my hand. This is a very thick. I mean, look how thick this steel is. And this is a 1/4 inch or more thick. So this has definitely got a lot of mass there going for it. So yeah, I'm really quite happy with the way this looks. So I have taken a before still. I'm going to go outside and take an after still along with a couple of other close-ups on this. And we have the newest toy in my collection. This is definitely going to go into my weapons rack. I'll have to take out my axe. This is a little more interesting, I think. So yeah, I'm quite happy the way this came out. This kind of this very crude, almost glaive-like shape to it. made out of a gardening or a landscaping tool. I'm not really sure what this thing was originally. Maybe it was a scraper or a cutter or something. I'm not positive. But it's got a new life. It's been reborn, and that seems to be a theme in the post-apocalypse now, doesn't it?